Hey everybody, it's Jill, and as promised, I'm coming to you today to share how I adapted a recipe to make it a 21 day fix approved recipe. It's actually pretty easy to do. This might not be the best way, there might be other ways out there, but this is just kind of what I've figured out how to do over the last year and a half. So I love looking at cookbooks. I love, looking at recipes online. This one actually came from Tasty, which is like that fun little video, cooking thing that we see on Facebook. And it looked delicious. And when I looked at the recipe, I noticed that all the ingredients were clean except for sausage, which I looked for a turkey sausage at Whole Foods and I didn't really see one that I wanted to use. So I ended up just going with ground turkey and it was fabulous. So that was an easy switch that I made that made this recipe, low fat and fabulous. Also, another thing that you can do is look at the cheese content and like the butter and oil content. A lot of times you can reduce that even by like half and the dish will still turn out perfect. Instead of using butter, you can use coconut oil. And then obviously, like I said, if it calls for, I don't know, half a cup of olive oil, which some recipes you will see that, you can reduce that and it'll probably turn out just fine. So I'm going to show you what I did. So as I started cooking, I used my little colored cups to actually measure out all the ingredients. And I kept a little running tab as I was cooking. I hope this isn't backwards for y'all. So I measured my onion, my celery, the apple, the oil, the cheese, and the breadcrumbs. I did adapt it a little bit. It called for 1 cup of breadcrumbs. Instead of using a whole cup, I just used half a cup. I thought about going with whole wheat breadcrumbs, but I decided since it was such a small amount, I was just going to use panko like it called for to add that extra crunch, and it was so good. I'm glad I kept that. The cheese amount seemed doable, so I kept it. Actually, I changed it a tiny bit, sorry. Instead of, it called for half a cup of Parmesan cheese, I used 2 blue containers, which was about 2/3 of a cup. If you're ever wondering how much a container holds, just use some water. So get your blue container, fill it up with water, pour it into a measuring cup, and you'll see that it's 1/3, okay? So you're just gonna have to do a little math. I did increase the oil a tiny bit because I didn't use sausage. I wanted to have a little bit more kind of fat to bind the stuffing together. So I took that into account as well. So this is what I came up with in the end. I had, where's my math? Okay, so I ended up using 1.5 purples, which when you divide 1.5 by 4, you get, I got 1/3, I guess that's right. I used 1 yellow container of breadcrumbs. When you divide that by 4, the number of servings that the dish made, I got 1/4 of a yellow. I had 8 cups, 8 green containers divided by 4 would equal 2 green containers per serving. I used 2 blues for my cheese. When you divide that by 4, you get half. And then I had 2 red containers. And I didn't measure out the turkey, but I just know that 1 pound of ground turkey is going to equal about 4 red containers. So since I used half a pound, that was 2 servings. So at the very end, I just did some math and I came up with the container counts for this dish. And I'm going to be honest, this is the kind of dish that drives me bonkers when I'm trying to create a meal plan because it's not like 1, 2, the numbers are kind of crazy. So I came up with, where is it? 1.5 spoons, 1/3 of a purple, 1/4 of a yellow, 2 greens, half a blue, and half a red per serving. And I ate 1 for dinner and I was stuffed. It was amazing. And they're not real big. I'd say it would fit in the palm of your hand. But I mean, it was a completely balanced meal. As you see, it had cheese, it had vegetables, it had a carb, it had protein, it had a little fruit and a little fat. And it was perfect. So that's what you can do. You just keep up with what you're adding to your meal while you're cooking it. Do a little math at the end. If you don't want to eyeball it, you probably can figure out a way to just take the measurements that it gives you, measure out your little containers to see what each one makes or what each one holds, and there you go. You'll know how many containers are in that recipe. If you see a recipe that just doesn't look like it can be adapted at all, I would just skip it because it's not going to be worth the headache. If you start making too many substitutions, it might not work. That's it. I hope I explained that well. It's probably just one of those things that trial and error is going to help you figure it out. But if you have any questions about this, don't hesitate to ask. Thanks for watching, y'all. Oh, and I'm going to post the recipe in the files for y'all.